So the next question came from a GI colleague who can't be with us, but some of his GI colleagues are no doubt present, so they can sort of perhaps reinforce the point. But the concern was that a lot of what has been happening in GI has been all around improving data science, improving our, if you like, adventurousness with new techniques, new approaches, helping our clients. But everything we've seen from the profession has been extra compliance, making things more difficult. And I think I've seen a lot of that myself on the life side of it. It feels like over compliance very often. I don't know whether benefits actuaries also feel the same. So the concern really is whether there's too much compliance and the GI actuaries themselves feeling somewhat ignored in what they regard as a very life and pension centric organization.
I have a strong sympathy with that point of view, although I would not necessarily agree with some of the strong language. But I have great sympathy. I had a session with GI actuaries because I wanted to speak to GI actuaries in August last year. And the lady, Cherry Chan, and a guy who now has in Tokyo Marine in Tokyo. He is a chief actuary with Everest, and he organized it in his. And 25 actuaries came, and that was largely the issue. And I spoke with senior chief actuaries led by Kalpana Shah about 2 months ago. And again, so I think there's something not quite right in our compliance for GI actuaries. I think we have used the thinking and mindset of a life and pensions actuary signing off a certificate and transport over. But there is sufficient language on proportionality and relevance, which actually allows you. But I can see that is due to poor shared context or language. Both sides, the regulatory side, the legal side, which is quite strong, and the GI actuary side want to create a space so that they feel safe. They feel safe. So they want an extra buffer to say what I'm doing is all right. They said actually what you're doing is all right is already covered in proportionality. So I think there is so there's a happy middle ground for us to go, and I think that the language use has been influenced, and there's nothing wrong with that because that is our history, life and pensions language, right? I think there needs to be a liberation. I'll be arguing for that liberation. So I have been instigating, a group of us have been instigating that we got to look at it, but I think that it is probably the Kingman consultation will come out in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So we want to be, not to be reactive, but to be proactive. But proactivity requires leadership, reactivity, because generally we feel that we are half a step behind. We should be a step ahead. It requires volunteers not just to comment, but to have time and energy to spend time building coalition. Because building coalition and not a single, because and we tend to be very detailed, right? And then we can go into a rabbit hole in many discussions, and you can see that happening in meetings you attend, partly because it's our nature. So we got to begin to change the governance and the culture. So I don't disagree, and I think this person who is not here talks about criticize part of my speech. You say that relevance above compliance. You say that Chieh have been doing for 30 with no help from the IFoA. My language was modified to make it more suitable for a presidential address, by the way. And you're right, but I think that but be fair to the IFoA as well, because I think I'm older than most of you. So IFoA went into general insurance led by GB Hay, Sidney Benjamin, and a Professor Beard. That Professor Beard. 3 or 4 of them, and partly because they were sort of either in consulting or in composites, and they went into it, and today we've got a thriving GI community. But IFoA can be more flexible, I think. So we should not be so emphasize so much on regulation. I think they're regulation heavy. I was unhappy with some of the documents coming out. It's just irregular. But I'm only one person, right? Only one person, and our power structure is heavily diffused. I got to build a coalition, and fortunately, Louis, Stephen, and Graham are quite aligned. Which makes it easier. But even then, we have to assure comfort all council members that this is the right thing. So we want to make, firstly, the culture must be right. Once the culture is right, all this can be done. The governance will follow. So we want to be more imaginative and more courageous, right? To tell the FRC, we will take our regulating role seriously and we will be responsible, right? But we must have courage to say that. Courage to that. And we must have a vision on how do we want to regulate different diverse groups differently, and also have the courage to see whether our structure is correct or not. Because we do not want essentially 1,500 actuaries who are in life and pension, and they're very important. Many of them work in us, and they will continue to be important for many years. Whether that maybe could be a separate way of making sure they're well regulated, and then the rest of us is really actuaries code. Actuaries code. Yeah, that will be my personal view, but I've not won that debate. So your involvement through your emails, through your participation in any consultation is important if you believe in this cause. If you believe in this cause. So I don't disagree with the questioner in terms of the sentiments, but it's how do we change it in a sensible way, which wins the support of the council, and eventually, if there are any changes in the articles from the membership, which is important.